Welcome to Aiken This Week. I'm Glenn Parker. Today, again, we're featuring the Aiken Public Safety Department. Join us today are Lieutenant Jake Mahoney, Lieutenant Ben Harm, and Sergeant Celeina Dobbs. Why don't each of you take a second or a minute and just tell us a little bit about your responsibilities with the department and what we're going to talk about today. Ben?
Sure, Glenn. My name is Ben Harm. I'm a lieutenant with Public Safety. I work in the administrative division. In the administrative division, we're responsible for the administrative functions, policies, procedures, accreditation, hiring, background investigations, the dispatch communication center, as well as records. So we kind of handle all of those things together.
Now, how long have you been with Public Safety?
I've worked with Public Safety since 1998, and before that I actually worked at Parks and Recreation as a lifeguard at Smith Hazel Pool.
You've been with the city a while.
Yes, sir.
Jake?
I'm the training officer for the department, responsible for the training of all new employees, both sworn and unsworn. Say I'm responsible, I manage the training function. Training our officers, our firefighters, and our personnel. It's kind of like raising it takes a village to raise a child. It takes an entire department to train an officer, an employee, a firefighter. So I help manage that function. I serve as the liaison between the department and the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy and the State Fire Academy.
Okay. Celeina?
Sergeant Celeina Dobbs. With the Community Services Division. I'm currently assigned to the Crosland Park community. I'm also a part of the department's recruitment team.
All right, let's start with you. Why don't you just tell us about recruitment? I guess you're talking about new officers there. Why don't you tell us how that process works a little bit?
Yes, we participate in recruitment activities at our local colleges and universities, as well as our public schools. We do the Citizens Academy, which allows the citizens of Aiken to come in and see the different aspects of public safety and also get to see how we operate. We do the contact card program. This allows interested people to come in, fill out their information, and it allows us to contact them when we have open positions for it. We sit on the advisory board for the Aiken Technical College Criminal Justice Program, and we also volunteer at the Aiken County Career Center.
Okay. So I'm guessing you have a plan that you follow for recruitment. What is that plan?
We do. Our goal is for the diversity of our department to mirror that of our community, and we do that as best we can. We go out and work on ways to improve our recruitment. That way we can serve the citizens the best we can.
Okay. And do you conduct your own recruitment? Public Safety does their own, or sometimes do you hire people to do that, or it's all your own?
We conduct it as well. We work very closely with our Human Resources Department. We go out, again, to our colleges and universities for it.
Okay. Ben, ask you a quick question then. If somebody wants to be a public safety officer, how do they know about it? How do they know when there's an opening in the department?
Well, one of the best ways for people to realize that there's an opening in public safety or even in the city in general is to check the city's website, and we can show that at the end of the program. Another way, like Sergeant Dobbs mentioned, is through a contact card. If you're interested in working at public safety, and it doesn't just have to be a public safety officer, it could be a volunteer firefighter, it could be a records technician, a dispatcher, or any other position we have. Even if we don't have any openings, we can fill out a contact card for you. And what that'll do is when we do have an opening, we'll actually call you or email you and let you know that there's an opening. And that way you get that firsthand knowledge, so you don't necessarily have to check the website every day.
Okay, so if there's no openings then, it's okay to submit an application and you'll keep it for them at any time?
Well, it's not. We won't actually keep an application because most of the city's applications are on the internet now or at the one stop, but we'll fill out a little contact card. It's just with your personal information, your name, address, and phone number, and then we'll contact you to submit the full application.
If I'm interested in being an officer and there are no openings, maybe I want to be an intern. Does the department have an internship program or something?
Absolutely. It's an unpaid internship. We do have a number of college students who take advantage of that intern program. It's not like the normal internship that you hear from people where they just sit in office file stuff. We don't have our interns do that. We actually have them in the car with officers. They kind of do like a shadow with records and communications center and all aspects of the department. They get to see the narcotics canines in action, and if they want to, they can actually go with other specialized teams, if they're training, they can actually go take a look and kind of see how they operate as well. So it's really all-inclusive internship.
Okay. Now, we talked with Chief Barranco recently about the diversity of the department and you know what it takes a little bit to be a public safety officer with both fire and police. So what are the basic requirements, I guess, if I want to be an officer? What do I need to have, and what do I want to go to school for, I guess?
Okay, that's actually a great question. In South Carolina, by South Carolina state law, you actually only have to be 21 and have a high school diploma or equivalent, which would be a GED. You have to have a South Carolina driver's license, and you have to have a clean background, including no offenses of a moral turpitude, which would be like a stealing or lying or those sorts of things. Now, in order to make yourself a better applicant, obviously a college degree does help you. You can major in whatever you choose. A lot of colleges do have a criminal justice program. So we've got folks with engineering degrees, like Captain Keston actually has an engineering degree. We've got folks with accounting degrees, business degrees, criminal justice degrees, science degrees. It just, whatever they wanted to major in, they got their degree. And we have some communications degrees. And then we also have a lot of folks from the military as well. And just, we look for the best possible applicant.
Okay. So we've hired, or there's an opening. What are the steps in the process then of becoming that officer?
Sure, that's another good question. The first is obviously to fill out the application. And then we get all those applications. Most of them come online. We review all those applications, and we run the driver license histories and criminal histories on everybody. Because obviously you don't want somebody being an officer who has an extensive driving history and an extensive criminal history. So we run all those, and then we actually interview all the candidates that don't have those histories.
Okay, and there's some tests, I think, that go with some of this. What are some of the tests that folks are required to take?
Well, the first is the police and fire aptitude test, and we administer those tests. Those aren't knowledge-based, but they're more scenario type-based to figure how you would handle a situation. It's really just to kind of measure your ability to do the job. We actually get those tests from a company that does all the standardization and checks for them. We get those tests from a company out of the Northeast.
Okay.
And then from there, we do a physical agility test. And that test consists of a 1.5 mile run, a 300-meter run, number of sit-ups in a minute, and a static bench press.
That's sort of obvious, but why is that important to a public safety officer?
Well, obviously, general fitness is important just in everyday life as well as law enforcement. And you actually have to pass a physical test at the Criminal Justice Academy. Okay. So, there are certain things you have to be able to do, and those tests measure that.
Okay, and I think Lieutenant Mahoney's going to get into that in just a few minutes. There's I don't know if it's for all positions. I know as you get promotions within the department too, there's a board of review that looks at those individuals and those applicants. What's the board of review?
Okay, we actually do a board of review for our new hires. It normally consists of 7 senior officers. Normally we have some sergeants, some lieutenants, and some captains. And what they do is they ask a bunch of questions. So a lot like you're asking me questions, we ask questions of the candidate. And it's a discussion, and we give them some scenarios, and it's kind of a stressful situation for candidates because obviously they're facing a panel of folks trying to get a job. So it's kind of a stressful situation for them, and it does help measure their performance under somewhat stressful conditions.
Okay, and without naming names, I've served on it before. There's all kind of individuals that can be on that board of review. It's not just other officers, is that right?
Correct. Typically for our hiring board, we do officers, and then for our promotional boards, we have folks from outside. We actually have folks from our community groups that will come sit on those boards.
Okay. And background investigation, you touched on that briefly. That's very important.
It is. It's important because we want to ensure a couple of things. First, we want to ensure we're getting the best possible candidate. And second, it's a way to reassure our citizens that we are hiring folks of good quality and good character. we can train a lot of things, and Lieutenant Mahoney will talk a little bit more about some of the training, but you can't really train good character in people. And so what we do is we go to their high schools, we go to their college, we contact their previous employers, we look at all their social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we look at all those things, and we're looking for conduct that is exemplary as well as not so exemplary. And the reason being is we want to ensure to our citizens that we've done our due diligence, that the person we're hiring is of good quality, good character.
So there's a difference between somebody posting something on Facebook for a kid being a kid as opposed to something that would keep you from being a public safety officer. You guys understand kids are kids.
Absolutely. And even in the background investigation, a poor choice as a 17 or 18-year-old doesn't exclude you from employment. Now, if you're 24 and you're having poor choices at 24, then that would not necessarily make you the best candidate for us. And so, we've seen some things that, folks have done at 17, 18, 19 that might not necessarily be the best. And we've hired them because they've shown that they've turned it around. They've changed in their behaviors, and we've been able to hire those folks.
I guess we're all glad they didn't have Facebook when we were growing up.
You're correct. You're correct.
Are there certain times of the year, I know once the budget's approved, then sometimes if there's new positions approved in the city's budget, there may be a hiring period there, but are there specific times of the year that you hire, or is it as need?
It's really as needed. If we have vacancies, then we will post for those vacancies. And the hiring process is not short. From the date applications close to the date of actual start, you're probably looking at 3 to 4 months. And the reason being is because we normally have a big pool of applicants. We normally have 90 to 100 applicants for a position. So that takes...
For an individual position?
Yes, sir.
90 to 100, okay.
Yes, sir. So it takes a long time to kind of go through that process. Obviously, interviewing everybody takes a significant amount of time. You average 30 minutes an interview, 90 folks, that's a significant chunk of time. So it takes time to go through those processes, and in addition to the other duties, it just takes some time. So it might seem like a long time, but we think our process really helps us do better. And we actually solicit information and suggestions from folks in our community. The chief and captain regularly meet with the community group and get suggestions from them in order to help us do better, in order to help us recruit better and get the best qualified candidates.
I think we had Coffee with a Cop going
Yes, sir.
on recently. It was one of the programs.
Yeah, we do Coffee with a Cop. Our Citizens Academy is another really good event. Even if you're not interested in working at public safety, if you want to learn more about public safety, you can come and spend 9 weeks with us, and we'll show you the ins and outs. And we get feedback from those folks. We get feedbacks from the various community groups that the chief and everybody kind of speaks at and meets with and collaborates with. So we are constantly looking for ways to improve, and we think that helps us.
All right, Jake, we've recruited them, we've hired them. We just put them on the street? Is that the plan, or is there a little bit of training that might go on before we do that?
There's quite a bit of training. Glenn, the training pipeline for a public safety officer is roughly 50 to 52 weeks. First portion of that is some in-house training. We prepare our officers before they go to the police academy. Then we'll send them up to the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy for 12 weeks. And then after their 12 weeks at the academy, they'll come back to us. We'll spend 12 to 14 weeks in a field training program where they ride along with a veteran officer, a training officer, and they'll ride on patrol with that field training officer. Actually 3 separate officers. They rotate about every month or so they get to see different techniques, different delivery styles, learn the ins and outs from a multitude of officers. And once they complete their police field training, we'll send them to the South Carolina Fire Academy for an additional 8 weeks of training at the Fire Academy, come back, do some orientation in the fire service, After they've completed all their training at the Police and the Fire Academy, we also have anywhere from 40 to 80 hours of additional in-house medical training. They'll become American Red Cross first responders, plus some additional tactical medical training that we're able to offer. And that's phase one. And then once they complete all the basic training, all the basic requirements, they'll be assigned to a shift, and they'll be evaluated by their shift supervisors and the leadership at the shift level for up to 6 weeks while they're still in a probationary status. So once they've successfully complete their probation, they've probably been with us anywhere from a year and a half to 21 months. They're finally released from probation, and they're on their own.
On their own. Let's go back to the two academies that they go to, and because we're public safety, they do get to go to both academies, or they're sent to both academies, I guess we should say. What are some of the things they're trained for while they're at the Criminal Justice Academy?
Criminal Justice Academy, every officer in the state of South Carolina, by law, has to be trained at their basic training is provided at the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy. It's 12 weeks long. They'll start with introduction to the legal system, statutory laws, state laws, constitutional law, search, seizure, investigative techniques. As they progress, job specifics, basic patrol operations, tactical communications, defensive tactics, firearms training and safety, driver's training. Before they complete the course at the Criminal Justice Academy, they're certified to operate breath testing machines for alcohol and DUI detection, as well as standardized field sobriety testing.
Now, is an officer there that entire time, or does he get to come home to his family?
It's 12 weeks, Monday through Friday. They stay up there, report on Sunday evenings, and they're there until Friday evenings. They are given their weekends off where they can come spend some time with the family, but for the first 9 weeks solid, Monday through Friday, they stay within the confines of the Criminal Justice Academy. They've got dorms, they're fed 3 meals a day, a lot of physical training in addition to the technical and the tactical training. So it's quite a challenge.
Interesting. Now, the Fire Academy, I assume, is similar. What are some of the things they pick up in the Fire Academy? Again,
Fire Academy, we send all of our recruit officers to the South Carolina Fire Academy for an 8-week recruit firefighter curriculum. Again, they'll receive some additional medical training from the Fire Academy, basic fundamentals of firefighting, techniques in flammable liquid and gas, firefighting, hazardous materials, survival techniques, and they also receive their Firefighter 1 and Firefighter 2 certifications.
Okay. So Lieutenant Keston talked to us recently about accreditation. So I'm assuming once they get through these things and they're trained, there's still ongoing day-to-day training that goes on in the Public Safety Department. Tell us a little bit about that, maybe how that ties to accreditation.
Yeah, absolutely. The training they receive at the Fire Academy and the Police Academy is just the basics. And law enforcement and the fire service is always changing. And we pride ourselves on being a professional department, an advanced department. And to maintain that status, we have to continue to train and evolve with the profession of law enforcement and firefighting. Firefighters can specialize, confined space rescue, aerial operations, truck company operations, wildland firefighting, there's a multitude of disciplines you can specialize in. And on the law enforcement side, we're required every 3 years, to have at least 40 hours of continuing education. So it is continually taking place. And depending on an officer's interest, he may find an area of law enforcement that is particularly attractive to him, whether it's criminal investigations, juvenile operations. Maybe an officer has a desire to become a school-based officer. Bicycle patrol. It's just, it's wide open.
So a lot of options.
It is.
A lot of options. You mentioned the 40 hours on the police side, I believe you said. Is there a CEU requirement on the fire side equivalent?
There's not a CEU requirement. We do have training requirements, OSHA requirements, the ISO requirements to have a certain amount of training every year. And we use company drills where we'll get together at least quarterly as a squad or as a shift. But we've also gotten into online training. It's cost effective for us. It opens up the availability to the masses, and we found it very successful, and incorporated that into our training program as well.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your facility over on DuPont, where you handle some of the tower training, and there's some other, I think there's a range in there. Tell us a little bit about that facility.
Yeah, we're very fortunate that we do have our own indoor training facility. We can accommodate approximately 30 students for all of our training facilities, all of our training classes. We have 2 indoor firing ranges. One where we can shoot just our pistols, but on the other side of our range we can shoot almost any firearm, rifles and pistols as well. It's continuously in operation. We don't just limit it to Aiken Public Safety. Anytime we host or hold training, especially advanced training, we open it up to any law enforcement agency in the region. We've had officers come from out of state for some of our training, and we're very proud of it, very fortunate to have that facility available to us.
Okay. Now the climbing tower is due for some renovations, I think. I think we're looking at doing something like that with the capital projects over the next couple of years. How often is that climbing tower used? And
our special response team and our technical rescue team find that as a great resource. It's not everywhere you can go to have a capability to rappel or climb or perform rescue training from up to 6 stories in the air. So we're very fortunate. It's used pretty regularly. At least quarterly you'll see one of those teams or one of those special groups out there taking advantage of that resource.
challenges. We've heard some good things today. What are some of the challenges either of you may face in going through the recruitment process and the training process?
The challenge is really an opportunity, and it kind of goes hand in hand. The challenge is always to hire the best candidate for the position, and you want to do that for a couple of reasons. I live in Aiken. I know Lieutenant Mahoney lives in Aiken, and we're eventually going to retire. So we want to hire folks that are the best qualified because the folks who are protecting our children, we want them to be the best possible that they can be. And so it's an opportunity for us to hire new folks as well as the best qualified. And that's always the challenge, is to hire, because when you have 90 applicants, you've got a lot of good applicants, and you've got to find the best qualified ones, and it's challenging. And that's always the difficult part, is the hiring decision. I'm glad I don't have to make it. The chief makes the decision on who to hire. That's just the opportunity for us.
Do you get some guys that come back, they don't make it this cut, and you see them?
We do. We've had a number of folks do that, and some folks will actually, they'll say, "What can I do better?" And we're happy to help them get into law enforcement if that's what they want to do. But we also try and encourage them to just not necessarily make sure they get a job with us, because it's more like Chief Busby and Chief Baranko have previously said, it's like a family. And, so while you can choose your friends, you can't choose your family, as the saying goes. We get to choose this part of our family, and we want to make sure we have the best qualified folks.
You're probably with those folks more than you are your own family a lot of times.
Absolutely. It's the family away from home, and we've had a number of folks reapply and then get hired because they've done some things to better themselves.
Good. Challenges?
Changes in technology is probably the number one. Law enforcement officers in the United States today are probably some of the finest trained law enforcement officers in the country, in the world. The level of professionalism in law enforcement is at an all-time high, as well as our scrutiny. So specifically, the changes in technology, by the time we've learned how a new piece of equipment, a new radio system, a new computer software, how it operates, how it functions, there's something new on the market, or there's an advancement. Body cameras, looking forward to being able to incorporate that in our training and use program. But it's multi-layered. There's so many facets to it, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of study. Because as we talked earlier, about 50 to 52 weeks to train an officer, a lot of financial resources, a lot of commitment to that, and we definitely want to be good stewards of the taxpayers' resources. So keeping up with changes in technology is one of our biggest challenges. But Lieutenant Harm and Captain Keston and Sergeant Dobbs do a great job of bringing me good quality folks to work with.
We've heard about a lot of training here today as we're closing up. I know you can't do it all by yourself. I'm guessing this is a team effort in public safety to do training. How's that distributed out across the staff over there?
Absolutely. I said earlier, I'm not the training officer. It may be my title, but I manage the training function. It takes the entire department, whether they're a one-year probationary officer, somebody who's just finished training, up to and including the chief, to help train our new officers. And we use those individuals based on their expertise in a certain area. We'll set up a training calendar and curriculum. Some officers have more experience in tactical operations. And they've had advanced training and become certified instructors in different areas. Some officers have come to us from the EMS community, and they have a medical background. So we pull on those skills and those talents. We try to draw the best from all of our officers, and if an individual is particularly skilled in a certain area and has some knowledge to share with the rest of us, we'll pull on that, and we'll help spread that throughout the force.
Okay. I know as we're wrapping up, we've talked mostly about officers today, but the department does have, and I don't know if I'm using the right term, some non-sworn employees. How do you go about bringing those folks in?
When we go to our recruitment events, we recruit for all of those activities, from administrative assistants to our driver operators, which actually drive the fire trucks, and they're non-sworn. And they're a very vital part of our organization.
Maintenance
folks, dispatchers, all those positions are things that we actually actively seek people for. And it is challenging at times to find folks for positions, but we're very fortunate that the folks that have come to work with us are very good people. Good. And I think that's kind of, you said earlier about spending more time away from at work than at home sometimes, and sometimes it seems like that, but when you're with good people, it seems more like fun than work.
How many employees does public safety have now?
134.
134. I'm not sure if we mentioned that.
And we have 87 sworn officers, so we have a good number of non-sworn personnel.
Okay. Well, thank you both. Sergeant Dobbs had to leave us, but I want to thank you too for sharing some very good information to us. Hopefully it was good to our community. Let me just remind everyone, if you have a question or a topic you'd like to hear, send us an email to AikenThisWeek@cityofAikenSC.gov. Thank you for joining us.